afternoon. Sorry about that. We had an interruption in the connection that a while ago, so we had a little delay. Sorry about that, but nevertheless, we will bring you all the things that we have promised yesterday, and also in the days before that. I'll be talking about the stuff that probably we will be anticipating. We'll have some discussion with the analyst. But before that, let me do a shout out sa mga kumakaway dito sa ating comment section. While I'm checking, sabi ni Banhag Melody, mabilisang ano yun? Maka-attend on time. Mabilisang laba. Okay. Nice one. Thank you. Thank you, Banhag Melody. Let's see some more of the comments here. Hello, Marilu. Someone's watching. Hi, Mark. Watching from Pampanga. Yan, si Paul Tabon. Mabagal ang ating taga-post ng comment. Okay. Sino pa? Hello, MDC Mike. How are you? I hope you guys are safe. I know that the cases has been going up, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone again in today's virtual event. By the way, this webinar is brought to you by MyTrade, by Abacus Securities, one of the most reliable online brokerages in the country today. And it is our advocacy to give more Filipinos a better tomorrow through intelligent investing. Before we start reading more of the comments, kindly register StreamYard if this is the first time that you're watching the show using the StreamYard link, so that when we post a comment of yours, we will see your name and your beautiful pictures like this one with MDC Mike's comment. Ayan. In the caption, so we can shout you out properly. If gusto nyo naman na hindi magpakilala, di wag kayo mag-register. Alright, thank you, Ishmael, for watching. Sobrang ganda ng topic today in a way na it's because we have some uncertainties pa in the market, and I don't want to talk here alone, so I'll be calling in our analyst to have a pre-discussion. So let me call on screen. First is our senior analyst, Bess Santiago. Hi, Bess.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello, and also next is Herman de La Paz. Hi, Herman.
Hi, hello.
You're on air now. Next is hi, Rainier. And last but not the least, hi, Isaiah.
Hi, guys.
So, as point of discussion, ano sa tingin nyo, what are you thinking na magiging main point ni Sir Nicky today? Any anticipation of topics? Probably that's what you want to for him to talk about. Pwede din na you're anticipating.
Bakit ako?
Nanuro.
Well, obviously, every outlook naman Sir Nicky provides parang medyo recap of what's happened since our previous outlook, and then maybe his insights on what strategy we should take going forward. General. Siyempre, parang surprise yung mamaya.
Parang may alam si Jess. How about ikaw, Herman? Ano yung na-anticipate mo?
Okay. Actually, si Sir Nicky, during times like this, kung may pandemic, he always guides us how to be defensive, no? How to protect our capital despite the difficult times. And lalo na bumalik tayo sa ECQ na hindi ko inaasahan. Kala ko hindi na tayo babalik ng ECQ. So I think how to be defensive sa ganitong panahon ulit.
That's right. Rainier, ang pinakabago sa anak ni Sir Nicky.
Anak talaga. So probably what I'm expecting will be siguro an outlook of the macroeconomic figures as well. So mga GDP, inflation, unemployment, what are his views, and moving forward, what can we expect? I think that's what we've always been seeing, and I think those figures are very important in our market today.
All right. Ako, inisip ko kung i-discuss si Sir Nicky yung sa vaccine. Kasi yun yung pina-search niya sa atin, we've been having that poll probably for the past week, and I think it has something to do with his presentation. And for you guys, if you just tune in with us, this is a mid-year market update of Abaco Securities. Tag your friends, know that whether or not you have an account with us, it's our pleasure to bring you an authentic and a well thought of research and analysis. All right. So, yan, may mga comments pa below. Hi, Dixon. I have actually, what do you call this? Meron tayong instruction for people who will be asking questions later on. Please do uh, type the first if you're gonna type a question, type first hashtag might ask or mighty ask para mabalikan namin. If there are a lot of questions, we can go back to it by clicking the hashtag. And if you want to feature anything in our live stream, if you want us to guess someone, di ba may touch base kami, also comment in hashtag mighty feature. Hindi ko pa hindi ko pa pala na type. Yan, mighty feature, hindi yung graduation feature. Anyway, bago ako maging mas corny pa dito, dali dito ako nagla-lunch. Let's call on sige, ito na lang. Para ba iba naman, hindi yung formal na lagi ini-introduce si Sir Nicky. One word to describe the head of research. Sorry, surprise to. Hindi niyo pinagandaan. One way to describe who is Sir Nicky for you, siguro mga one-liner. Ito yung way natin to introduce him since ever since lagi natin siya in-introduce in a formal way. Sige, magsisimula na ako. Dahil alam ko na yung ngiti-ngiti dyan na yan. Hindi pa kayo nakakaisip. Okay. So, for me, Sir Nicky is the... Teka, bakit ako nag-feedback? Nag-aabang siya sa backstage ko. Ano sasabihin ko? Sir Nicky is one of the inspiring people, if not the most inspiring that I've met, because of how he analyzed. Alam mo, I've been in the market for a lot of like a decade na, but I haven't been amazed with someone fundamentally. So, until I met Sir Nicky. So, bago ko, wala pa ako sa Abacus, fan na ako niya, follower na ako niyan sa Twitter, na HOR underscore, 102, tama ba? Sabi ko sa kanya, may commission ako pag naka plus 1,000 followers because of my endorsement. Ayan, so that's Sir Nicky for me. Inspiring leader and also very intelligent guy. Ayan. Ikaw, Herman, nararamdaman ko may sasabihin ka na.
Okay, siguro for me, si Sir Nicky, very wise and logical mag-isip kasi alam niya yung connect ng lahat ng bagay na when a certain news comes out, alam agad kung anong mga sectors and companies yung apektado. So it's very wise para sa akin. Yung akala mo parang 100 years nang nabuhay si Sir kasi ang dami niyang alam talaga.
Lagot ka, 100 years ka na daw, Sir Nicky.
Kasi nga maraming alam talaga.
A wise man once said. Marami siya niyan. Ikaw naman, Rainier. Mukhang si Bess nag-iisip pa eh.
Si Sir Nicky is a market mover. I think yung mga sinusulat niya or his insights are very looked up upon to by the industry, and everyone really appreciates his insights to the different matters, may it be to the economy or to the specific company. So apart from yung mga clients ng Abacus, I think outside of our circle, very, ano siya, highly recommend.
Ah, ayan, sir, narinig mo yan. Close na kayo ni Rainier. Isaiah.
Nakamute si IC.
Nakamute.
Again,
Mute
again.
ako.
Sorry.
Hindi, mute ba ako?
Okay.
The first thing that always reminds me of Sir Nicky is the ones we use in the captions for my trade, where Sir Nicky is one of the best stock pickers in Asia. So when you're playing on his team, you're very lucky to be a part of the company where he's the head of research. So he can make things very clear for you on the risk in the market. So I think we're very lucky to have him on our team. Yeah.
Ako na ba?
And last but not the least,
Ayun, medyo synonymous sa mga sinabi nila earlier, no? I think Sir Nicky is very, parang exceptionally na insightful siya. So today na we're living in a time of sobrang daming information na pwede mong tingnan, pwede mong makuha, pwede mong masagap. Yung brain niya parang funnel na masagap na lahat pero condense na into something that's useful, practical, and will help you in your financial journey.
thank you, Bess. And you guys, if you have something that you think what Sir Nicky is for you, since the day that we introduced you guys to him to you guys, type in the comment section below. Ito, I like what he said. Mark Anthony Sunga said, Sir Nicky is the guiding light. Parang it has something to do with what we'll be launching later on. Actually, okay, sabi ni Marilu, Sir Nicky is best of the best. Ako pala, may nakalimutan ako sabihin. Ito, kasi kanina, syempre, para lang may masabi ako eh. Dahil alam ko nag-iisip kayo. So, filler lang yon. But Sir Nicky is a man of intuition. Siya lang yung guy na alam ko na may intuition. Kasi most of the guys that I know, bato-bato sa langit, wala silang intuition. Si Sir Nicky meron. Proven and tested, may intuition si Sir Nicky. So, yon. So, without further ado, guys, pwede namang pa-heart naman dyan. Kasi lalabas na si the man of the hour. Lagot ako dito. Sir Nicky Franco. Hi, sir.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Wala pa akong pang-clap eh.
Thank you for the comments. I'll try to work on your bonuses in December.
Yes. All right, Drew. That's it. Thank you so much. Enjoy your show.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to speak about updates for the market, and then towards the end, I'll be giving our thoughts on the upcoming IPO of Modernisation. So let's wait for the presentation there. So the event is titled Gas Up, and it relates to the title of our presentation, which is a play on the title from January. So instead of the long road back, the title today is The Longer Road Back. And I think this is relatively self-explanatory because we've had to lock down again because of the rising number of COVID cases, and it will definitely prolong the recovery of the economy, prolong the recovery of corporate earnings. But we'll see later that there are, of course, opportunities in the market. So going to the next slide, as our introduction, everyone is familiar with the saying, when God closes a door, he opens a window. But there's another saying attributed to Alexander Graham Bell, where he supposedly said, when one door closes, another opens. But not everyone is familiar with the second part of that saying. And the second part is that but we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us. And I think this is applicable for the situation today, with the market having gone down significantly since January, and the market is down about 10% year to date. Some of the favorite stocks that retail investors have been trading have gone down significantly. So sometimes it feels that there are no more opportunities in the market, when the fact is that there's an open door somewhere and we just have to um, fix or take our eyes off the closed door and then look for the door that is open, and this is the door that will bring opportunity for us. Okay, so going on to the next slide. First, let's review the performance of our top picks year to date. You can see from the chart that there is a wide dispersion of performance for our top picks. However, we're quite proud to say that three of our picks, LTG, First Gen, and ICT, are the top three index performers year to date. Also, our picks are outperforming the index by 9.6 percentage points on a simple average and 9.2% on a weighted basis. And then only 2 out of our 12 picks are actually underperforming the PSEI. So going forward, we're quite confident that these stocks, as a portfolio, will continue to outperform. Next slide, please. For this slide, we discuss what has changed since January. So I don't think that anyone was expecting such a large second wave. And this third ECQ and MECQ that we're currently in will definitely have a significant impact. Meanwhile, inflation and interest rates have also risen, but not drastically so. This is not going to be a game changer for us. Next, government and private economists' GDP forecast. Sorry, go back to the. Sorry. Government and private economists' GDP forecasts are coming down, but remember that we were already below consensus in January. We were already saying that growth this year was only going to be about 5-6% compared to the up to 7.5% for the government. Also, market volume has fallen significantly in the past few months. Next slide. On this slide, we discuss what hasn't changed. So as we expected at the start of the year, vaccine procurement and distribution has been as slow as we thought it would be. We also said that the dollar would strengthen, and it did. It has given up some of its gains recently, but we're still looking for the peso to depreciate to about 51 to 1 by the end of the year. Also, hot money or foreign portfolio investments continue to flee. Foreigners were net sellers or have been net sellers for 66 out of the last 74 trading days, and this is through yesterday. So indeed, the road back to normality for the economy, for the stock market, is indeed long and bumpy, and it might be even longer than what we expected at the start of the year. Next slide, please. So yes, going now to the economy. As I said earlier, the spike in COVID cases reinforces our thesis that 2021 growth will underperform government projections. Recently also, we saw the news that Moody's warned that the COVID surge is going to be credit negative for the Philippines. So right now, the current GDP consensus is about -2% for Q1. Given the ECQ, which we did not factor into our expectations at the start of the year, it looks like -2% might be too optimistic. And then the impact of the ECQ and MECQ will probably mean that the second quarter GDP bounce will be tempered or will be smaller than what most people expect. Next slide, please. Going now to corporate earnings, you can see in the chart there, the one that is encircled, that shorter part of that graph represents the nominal EPS estimate for the PSEI, and as you can see, it has been relatively flat since the start of the year. If you look at the number for 2022, it is similarly flat. So I think that this means analysts are taking a wait-and-see attitude. We're probably going to see a lot more movement in earnings expectations after the bulk of first quarter earnings have been disclosed, and that won't be until the middle of May. So after that, we believe that we're going to see significant revisions for many of the stocks that we cover. At this point, we still believe that the median PSEI company is expected to fully recover by next year. However, there are going to be a lot of laggards, primarily in the consumer discretionary space, property, gaming, and of course, airlines. So next slide, please. Going now to hot money, you can see in the chart there that the drawdown in cumulative net foreign buying since the year 2001 has been very, very steep in the past 2 years. However, we may see some inflows because of the Modernisation IPO, but it will be a mere blip in the continuous foreign selling that we've been seeing in the past year or so. As long as, in our view, as long as the country's COVID response lags its peers, foreign funds are unlikely to return. Nevertheless, at the current pace, we still believe that selling pressure will probably abate or slow down by the third quarter of this year. Next slide, please. So over the next few slides, we're going to discuss our analysis and outlook for various sectors in the stock market. You can see in the chart there that the dark green line represents inflation, and the other line represents overseas Filipino workers' remittances translated into pesos. You can see inflation moving up, and then you can see that remittances have been negative for a number of months in the past 2 years or 1.5 years. So the combination of these two is going to keep consumer spending muted. So this is going to be negative for consumer discretionary stocks. On the other hand, rising prices may actually be good for grocery chains because people will continue to buy basic necessities. So grocery chains like Pure Gold will be able to pass on the higher costs to consumers because there's actually very little elasticity of demand with regard to essential goods. Meanwhile, the longer lockdowns are in place, the more ingrained online shopping and food delivery apps will become. So the long-term impact on traditional retailers, like for example SM, is going to be felt for years to come. Next slide. Banking, we've seen loan growth deteriorate for quite some time already. Nevertheless, financials have actually outperformed year to date significantly. If the PSEI is down about 10%, financials are actually down just 5%. So that's a very significant outperformance of about 5 percentage points. And then today, just before this presentation, actually Union Bank and BDO reported earnings, and they were quite good. Union Bank's first quarter was up 79%, and BDO, I believe, is up about 19%. So we believe that the outperformance of the banking sector is going to continue. And this is because a lot of the negatives, or most of the negatives, have already been priced in, and the valuations of the banks have come down so far relative to historical valuations that there's really very little downside for the banks in our view at this point. So we're overweight on the sector. Next slide. Property. The property sector is like the mirror image of the banking sector. Property stocks are underperforming year to date, and we believe that this is because of the protracted effects of the pandemic. What we mean by this is that at the start of the pandemic, real estate companies were relatively protected on the office segment because, as you know, in 2018, 2019, the property market was very strong, and tenants were willing to pay 1 year or more in advance to secure their leases. So it has taken about 12 months for the impact of the pandemic to really show itself in the office segment. And you see that in companies like MegaWorld, which said recently that office occupancy is now down to 90% from 96% a year ago. And this chart here on this slide shows the steep decline in average office rental rates from the first quarter of 2020 to the first quarter of this year. And you see the very steep decline there for the Bay Area, 29%. Alabang and Ortigas down 18%, and Makati down 14%. And if you were able to see the presentation of, or watch the presentation of Lee Chu Property Consultants, they showed the chart, or they showed charts there which indicate that the momentum for office rentals is still quite steep to the downside. So we believe that rental rates still have room to go down, and this is going to affect property companies moving forward. Meanwhile, residential demand has been recovering, but I think that this is coming off from a low base on a quarter-on-quarter basis. I believe that this is going to stabilize at some point, but stabilize at a point that is still lower compared to previous years. And we believe that this is because remittances are still weak and there is high job insecurity right now among a lot of people. So we remain underweight on the sector. Next slide, please. Conglomerates, this is really a mixed bag now. But what we would like to say is that the broad business portfolios of conglomerates means that they will largely track the performance of the domestic economy. So given that we're expecting the economy to underperform our peers, then conglomerates are likely to underperform as a group. So we prefer those without exposure to property, consumer, or consumer discretionary and gaming. There, as you can see in the chart, there's a wide range of valuations for the sector, all the way from 33 times forward PE to just 5 times PE. And if you have, for example, SM or San Miguel or JGS, our recommendation really is to look at the other side, the other end of the chart, and consider again LTG, which is one of our stock picks. Next slide. Telcos. If you have been following Netflix in the US, you saw the stock drop, I think 8% the other night. And this is because they reported first quarter additional subscribers that were well below expectations. I think it was 3.8 million additional subscribers in the first quarter, whereas market expectations were about 6.5 million. And the 3.8 million is also well below the pace in the first quarter of last year, which was above 15 million. What we believe happened really is that the pandemic pulled forward a lot of demand for streaming services, and now that most people there who want to have streaming services have already availed themselves of Netflix or Apple TV or Hulu or whatever. So the addressable market there has already shrunk, and this means that there is little, or we believe that this means that demand is really going to slow down. We believe that there is like a similar, or there's an analogous case here in the Philippines where broadband subscriptions increased very rapidly last year, especially for companies like Converge. But we believe that similar to Netflix, those subscriptions are going to slow down dramatically by the second quarter or third quarter of this year. Again, because most of the people that want to get broadband at home have already done so. Meanwhile, we all know that Dito is now operational, but we believe that there's unlikely to be any significant impact this year. That will most likely happen by next year. Now, for this chart, I think what we would like to say about this chart, which shows mobile data traffic for Globe and Tel, is that you will notice that for Smart and PLDT, mobile data traffic has kind of plateaued in the past 2 quarters, whereas Globe has continued to increase. So I think the momentum is or has shifted back in favor of Globe. So there might be a chance for Globe to outperform PLDT over the next few quarters. Next slide, please. Mining has been very popular in the past few months, and especially over the past week when Malacanang released an executive order allowing the processing of permits for new mines. However, the lifting of the ban does not, in our view, necessarily mean that the government is now pro-mining. We believe that the regulatory environment remains negative, especially in light of news that the government may impose new profit-sharing regimes for the mining sector. In any case, we don't think that commercial operations of new projects will happen in the near term, and probably not even in the next 2 to 3 years. Those who still want exposure in the mining sector should be ready to hold or should have horizon probably in the 2 to 3 year period. Meanwhile, you may have seen articles regarding commodity supercycle. The thesis is convincing because there's really going to be a lot of demand for nickel and copper as the world shifts to renewable energy. However, we don't think that high prices for the longer term are guaranteed. But if we had to choose a metal, we believe that copper is the one that's probably going to outperform in the long term. And this is because of chronic underinvestment in new mines for the copper industry over the past decade. And it's going to be hard to put new copper mines online at the same time that demand for copper is going up so rapidly. That's not the case kasi for nickel. Nickel is much easier to extract from the ground. And there have also been reports that Chinese companies are building a lot of processing plants in Indonesia. So the increase in supply for nickel is probably going to come much, much sooner compared to copper. So we prefer copper plays over nickel plays at this point in time. Next slide. For energy, the huge run-up in renewable energy stocks globally has really come off in the past few months. Stocks are generally down 20 to 30% from their highs. Others are down as much as 40% or even 50%. However, we still believe that the shift to renewables is a long-term trend. And the shift to renewables in the Philippines might actually be accelerating, as evidenced by San Miguel's investment in battery storage. So for a company like San Miguel to have the confidence to put in $1 billion in a business that really doesn't make sense unless there's renewable energy, then I think that's really a vote of confidence from San Miguel in the future of renewable energy. Corollarily, this means that coal will eventually shrink as a percentage of overall supply for the national grid. And we don't believe that it is likely for coal to make a comeback. So this is going to be negative for the major coal plant operators. Next. As China mentioned, I asked for a survey actually of how many of you are in favor of getting immunized, and I'm happy to know that 75% of respondents in our poll said that they are very willing to get vaccinated for COVID-19, and this is in sharp contrast. Unfortunately, this is in sharp contrast to the rest of the nation, or for the nation overall, with almost half in an SWS survey saying that they are unwilling to get vaccinated. So the Philippines already has one of the lowest vaccination rates as a percentage of the population in the region and among emerging markets. And this vaccine hesitancy will definitely prolong the country's recovery. So in our view, we're sticking to our view the vaccination goals of reaching herd immunity by the end of the year is unlikely to be met. We believe that at the earliest, it will probably happen by mid-2022 or even later. Next slide, please. Going now to valuations, you can see in the chart that the PSEI's drop year to date has tempered valuations close to the market's 10-year mean. However, this is actually or relatively misleading because only there are 5 stocks, the 5 most expensive stocks, accounting for 1/3 of the index by weight, have a weighted PE of about 32 times. So these 5 stocks are pulling up the average of the market significantly. And in fact, 60% of the PSEI are trading below the average PE for the market. And there are actually 10 names that are trading at just 10 times PE or lower. So this is what I mean when I said that the market is down, but there are actually a good number of stocks that are trading at attractive valuations. As I said, 10 times or even lower. I already mentioned LTG earlier, trading at just 5 times PE. And I think that stock is really undervalued at this point. Next slide. Unfortunately, when foreigners look at the Philippines, they don't often look at the significant details like that. So when they see us trading at a significant premium to the rest of the emerging markets, and because of the fact that the Philippines has a very small weight in the emerging markets index, then the year-to-date underperformance of the Philippines relative to EMs of 13% year-to-date is still not enough to attract foreign investments at this time. We also consider that the Philippines has ranked consistently near the bottom of COVID performance charts in the region and among emerging markets. So given that the Philippines, as I said, is still trading at a premium to the rest of the emerging markets, then the valuations are still not yet attractive enough for foreigners. Next slide, please. So just to summarize everything, sorry, we remain constructive about the market for the long term. But we reiterate what we said in January. The economy and corporate earnings will be left behind by peers. We also see that downward earnings estimates we dominate after the first quarter earnings season. Again, vaccine procurement, delivery, and distribution are all tracking later than what most people expected. So our view is that the market is likely to drift until the situation improves. So the near-term bias for us is going to be to the downside on continued net foreign selling. We are also lowering our year-end PSEI target to 7,300 on the back of the renewed lockdown, its impact on GDP and corporate earnings. Next slide, please. For our key recommendations, we still believe that it is right to remain invested in the market. Some people seem want to throw in the towel on 2021 already, but we don't think that that is the way to go. Instead, use the dips to accumulate our top picks, which remain the same from the start of the year. If you want, you can also rebalance by top slicing those that have outperformed, and then adding more of the underperformance among our top picks. Our top trade idea also remains the same from the start of the year, which is a switch from SM and SM Prime into BDO. At one point, BDO was outperforming SM and SM Prime by about 10 percentage points earlier this year. The outperformance has narrowed to about 4 or 5%, but BDO is still outperforming. And we believe that the outperformance is going to continue, especially since, as I said earlier, BDO reported relatively strong first quarter numbers just before this presentation. We are also reinstating LTG as a top trade because of its very cheap valuations. It's the cheapest among the PSEI members. It's also the cheapest among the conglomerates that we cover. We are sticking to our overweights on banks and logistics, and sticking to our underweights on property, telco, and conglomerates. Finally, stay liquid. You have to stay liquid because we believe that the third quarter will be pivotal. It may be the best time to position for the election season and the post-election rally. So that's the end of our outlook presentation, but we now go to a discussion of Modernisation's IPO. Next slide, please. Okay, for Modernisation, clearly the market has focused on Modernisation's exposure to the fast-growing alternative meats industry, or what others may call plant-based meats. But before continuing, I'd like to emphasize first that Modernisation is really a very good company. It has been very, very successful for the longest time. However, we do have concerns about corn. Looking more closely, corn has actually underperformed and lost market share in the United Kingdom since 2018. The first panel that you see in that slide shows that corn and its subsidiary Cauldron have a 33% retail market share in the UK, and this is for last 12 months as of January 2021. But we saw an article from vegeconomist.com dated September 7, 2018, where the CEO of Corn, Mr. Brennan, said that given the present turnover of the company of 230 million pounds, they had a 55% market share in the UK. So that's a significant deterioration in market share from 55% to 33% in the past 3 or so years. Corn's CEO was also quoted in another article as saying that Brexit would be negative for the business. Of course, this last comment may have changed since then, because that was a few years ago. But we believe that this just shows that there are some negatives that the market may not have been imputing into the business at this time. Next slide, still on the Modernisation IPO. Next slide, please. Okay, sorry. there. Another thing, and this is from the presentation of, again, from the presentation of uh, Modernisation recently. Corn's margins and earnings have actually fallen since 2017, and this may be a drag to Monde going forward. So actually, in our view, the real focus should not be corn, but the real focus should actually be Monde's Philippine business and regional business. The Asia Pacific business is actually doing quite well, and we believe that it is outperforming URC. However, as I said, corn might be a drag in the near term, and we've also discussed in our daily reports that higher commodity prices are probably going to weigh down on group margins moving forward. Just this morning, we received answers to additional questions, and we posed additional questions to the company, and they replied. They graciously replied. So we're still going to impute those answers into our final recommendation. We don't have a final recommendation yet at this point for Modernisation, but given what we know, we would definitely prefer if the price is much lower compared to the maximum offer price of 17.50. We would prefer it to be closer to the 12 to 13 peso range. So those are our comments for Modernization's IPO. We will now go to the question and answer portion.
Thank you, sir. We'll facilitate the questions for you. Huwag mo ko iwan, sir. Hindi ko to kayang sagutin. Nandiyan ka ba? Wait. All right. So the first question, ayun. Kala ko papasagutin mo, sir. The first question is from Luca. Thanks, Luca. How does the election affect the market?
Generally speaking, elections are quite good for the market. In the presentation that in the talk I gave for the PSE back in October, we showed that in the past several presidential election cycles, the market performs quite well in the period leading up to, during, and 12 months after the election. And this is why we actually wrote last year that we're looking at the market marking new highs by 2023. So we're looking for the market to actually achieve 9,000, above 9,000 and even 10,000 by mid-2023.
Thank you, sir. Again, guys, if you want to ask questions, ang dami kasi sa comment section, please type #MYT ask para makita namin yung questions mo. Right. Next question is from James Tamayo. Your outlook for GMA7 and GMAP for next year, please. Do we have that, sir?
Apologies for that. We actually haven't been looking at GMA7 for for some time. But of course, it will benefit significantly because it no longer has a competitor. In the longer term, however, the benefit might be relatively muted because GMA7 doesn't really have more commercial minutes or more advertising minutes to sell. Advertising minutes are finite, so they can only squeeze so much from advertising. And what we also note is that advertisers are shifting more and more out of traditional traditional avenues like TV and radio, and more into social media and online advertising. So um, in the longer term, we don't expect significant um, impact for GMA7 arising from the suspension of ABS's franchise.
Thank you, sir. There's another question from YouTube channel. Holding Space asks, with mining explosive shipments arriving around October, when will the market begin to anticipate mining earnings post a mining lift ban? Before or after second quarter 2021?
Um, Actually, as I mentioned earlier, the lifting of the ban on new mining investments is not likely to produce significant results in terms of bottom line for for at least the next 2 to 3 years, because the DENR is only one agency that mining companies have to go through. Um, Mining companies have to go through a gauntlet of other approvals ranging from the LGUs, the provincial board, National Commission for Indigenous Peoples, and so on and so forth. So uh, any new mining investment won't be commercially viable or won't be commercially operational um, until maybe 2023 at the earliest.
From Sharon. Okay, wait, sir. Hello, sir. Okay. From Ellen Assis, she's asking if what are the stocks na maaapektuhan or will have an impact for the election and post-election? Meron na ba as early as now?
Um, Generally speaking, the election rally is going to lift practically all boats, but of course the biggest names that will probably benefit are those in the consumer sector and and the conglomerates and the conglomerates.
Okay. Uh, and so another question from Michael Taylor. Regarding renewables, do you think ASEN is undervalued as the current price?
Actually, no. We've written extensively on ASEN. We've taken a close look at the assets. We've taken a close look at the timetable for the deployment of its various assets. And what we see actually is that ASEN is overvalued at this time. I think primarily because the market has not yet imputed all the additional shares that the company is going to um, issue over the next 6 to 12 months. So there's going to be a lot of dilution from all those issuances. Nevertheless, we're not saying that the stock is going to drop anytime soon. We've also written recently that ASEN is actually the front runner to be added to the index in August, because we believe that Emperador is going to be deleted from the index at that point. So if Emperador is going to be kicked out of the index, then currently our front runner to replace it is ASEN. So there might be some tailwind from that for the stock.
Sure, I think this is connected to the question that you just answered. Makakaapekto ba, from Jeffrey Briones, makakaapekto ba sa market kung sino mananalo sa election? Usually company pro-government like dito.
Um, of course, it's going to impact. There's going to be some impact. Um, at this point, however, it's not yet clear who's going to run, so we can't really say how that will um, that will show up in the market, or how that will affect the market. By the end of this year, I think the filing of candidacies will begin in, I believe, November or December. So we'll have a clearer picture by then of who the candidates are, and how each one of them is likely to impact the market. So maybe when we have another session like this at that time, then probably that's the point where we can give a better answer.
All right, thank you. For those who just tuned in, we are with Sir Nikki, our head of research. This is the mid-year market outlook of Abacus Securities. If you are, this is the first time that you have encountered us, don't forget to click and share our notification bell so you'll be updated of our next uh, live stream. Yeah. Next is si Sir Nikki na yung mafe-feature doon sa YouTube. Tama ba, sir? May upcoming, hindi niya ako narinig. Next is, okay. Sir, ready ka na?
Thanks.
Ne-
Yeah.
okay. Sir, hindi mo na narinig. Sabi ko mag-YouTube ka na.
Ano yan?
Pag-YouTube ka na, kakaroon ka na ng YouTube channel.
Pag-isipan ko.
Anyway, Mark Anthony Sunga, vaccine problems are acquisition and stock coming from abroad, but the vaccine rollout is fast. Third, fourth quarter is the major shipment of all brands coming in. The government expect we will be better at Christmas. We are in the second quarter. Is it good timing to position this quarter or wait it out?
I'd rather wait. As I said earlier, maybe the best time is the third quarter, because by then we'll have a clearer picture of how many doses have actually arrived or will arrive soon. We'll also have a better idea of how fast um, the distribution is when there's enough supply. Because right now it's really hard to um, gauge the the distribution, because there's really not enough supply. One reason why the vaccination rate is very slow compared to our neighbors is because of the lack of supply. So we'll definitely have a better picture by the third quarter. I would wait for that time to position in a big way.
So I think this is connected to this next question that we're posting, because last January 2021, you mentioned that the best to wait when the index is around 6.4. So so is it the time already, because index is at 36378?
Um, some things changed kasi from January 2021. As I mentioned, nobody, I don't think anybody expected back in January that we would see as many as 15,000 cases in one day. So that definitely impacted our outlook um, in terms of GDP, corporate earnings, and we did lower our year-end index target from 7.7 to 7.3. So we should probably adjust our target buying range for the index as well, maybe from 6.4, maybe closer instead to 6,200 or 6,100.
Okay, next is
Remember, for
sure.
example, that Modernisation's IPO is probably going to suck the liquidity out of the market for a good few weeks, simply because of the size of the IPO. So that may induce more selling in some of the names that might reduce market volumes and liquidity, and that should put pressure on and that might put pressure on prices until the end of May, when Modernisation is expected to list.
Okay, next is for Marge, just to have a comment on those people asking about Marge subscription. Um, Please be reminded, for March users, you are not to subscribe for IPO. So if you are keen on getting IPO, kunyari i-recommend ni Sir Nicky yung Mondenizen, it's best to have a regular trading account. As we will be strict in the manner of how do we apply the strategy in that particular portfolio of yours. Okay, next is from Enrosial. Hello po, what is your thought on MM's MTech and MBox?
Um, it I know the technology. I know the strategy is employed in other countries, and that it has proven to be successful for a number of industries like fast food, grocery chains like Merrimart. But the scale that they're looking at, like 5,000, I think they mentioned 5,000 lockers. I don't know if I got it right, but 5,000 seems to be small relative to the size of the company, or the size of the overall market. So um, in that sense, the impact to the company might not be significant on that technology alone, but it does show that Mary Mart is attuned to a lot of the innovations outside of the country. I think that they're going to introduce more innovations, and maybe as a whole, or taking all of that together, whatever other innovations that they're going to introduce to the market, then that might have significantly positive impact to the company. However, we would really like to see Mary Mart really grow its main business first of grocery retailing, so that it would add significant value to the company.
All right. So next is we have siguro mga ano pa, three more questions for Sir Nicky. Sige. Maraming nagtatanong. So I'm trying to scan the questions as much as possible. All right. So from my trade Facebook user, do you think it is best to TP on the stocks we have now? What's TP, sir? I take profit on the stocks we have now and wait to reposition, since Mondes IPO might really get the stock market to down deeper. 6.2 and 6.1 to 6.2.
Um, Unless the stocks that you're holding are above the price targets that we have set, then I would prefer that you hold on um, to those stocks. Anyway, the downside, for example, from 6,370 to 6,2 is not that significant. So I'd rather wait. I'd rather hold. And remember the famous saying that it's it's not the forgot the saying actually. but you really make more money in the market
Google.
by holding your stocks rather than trying to trade them. So um, my recommendation is to just hold your stocks. In any case, um, as I said, we haven't we haven't really arrived at a definitive recommendation yet for Modernisation.
Okay, so let your questions in. Last two. Tingnan natin. Let's ask the analyst to choose the question kasi baka there are questions that I can't see on my end. So for the channels we're live in Map, and Facebook, eHub, and in our MyTrade community. Okay, here from um Mark Anthony again. Suki mo to, sir. Sir, how about MWC Razon Trident partnership with Ayala? Is it really a partnership or takeover or a political move by Ayala to steer closer to Razon? What do you think about the new water concession?
I'm wait lang. I'm rereading the question. Um, it's really hard to um, guess what's really in the minds of the Ayalas. No, um, I, I don't think I can venture a guess as to whether it's really a political move by the company, but I do believe that it is a true partnership between Ayala and Mr. Razon. With regard to our thoughts on the new water concession, we wrote recently that the government basically got everything that it demanded from Manila Water. Manila Water, in our view, folded on a lot of the demands. So, for example, they removed the foreign currency adjustment. They put a cap on the inflation adjustment. They um, they said that there won't be any price adjustment or tariff adjustment until the end of next year. So I think this really puts Manila Water in a bind, um, and I think that it's going to be a long-term negative for the company because profits are going to, of course, be negatively affected, and the negative impact on earnings and cash flow will reduce their ability to invest um, in new facilities. It will reduce their capex and eventually reduce the intrinsic value of the stock. So I don't think that Mr. Razon got a bargain. I think he's going to have to work hard to recoup his investment on this one.
Okay, sir. Meron dito nagtatanong about Wilcon. I said from Roderick mga po, outlook for Wilcon, sir, still moving sideways for months.
Um, Sideways isn't um, really bad given the market that we're in. As we all know, the market has fallen significantly, and Wilcon has actually been among the better performers since the pandemic began. Um, Wilcon is still one of our favorite stocks. The problem right now is just that its valuation is relatively high already, and we would rather wait for lower levels to come back in. And remember that Wilcon is one of the beneficiaries of a huge mega trend that we've talked about in previous presentations, that um, the number of working Filipinos is going to continue to increase in the next few decades. The proportion of dependents for each worker is going to go down significantly. So consumer discretionary spending will improve much faster compared to overall GDP for the long term. So this is going to increase home ownership, uh, and this will be long-term positive for Wilcon, and of course for all home. So these two stocks are beneficiaries of this mega trend, and they'll be among our favored stocks for the longest time.
I remember Sir Nikki's recommendation of Wilcon since IPO days. And I've gotten some questions from the analyst. As someone asked it, kay Carlo Fontanilla, it will take time to vaccinate every Filipino, but if 30% of the population gets vaccinated, is that enough to trigger a good market sentiment?
I've read in um, certain publications that um, at at a vaccination with a vaccination rate of 20%, the number of cases will actually start to go down already. So yes, if 30% of the population is vaccinated, that should be able to trigger positive change in market sentiment. The problem is when we will be able to achieve that figure, because right now with about 1.3 million doses administered, we're still less than 1% of the overall population. So uh, and 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 that 0.8% vaccination rate was achieved in like 6 or 7 weeks. So how long will it take to achieve 20% or 30%? That's the question. Um, we'll and to answer that, we'll just really have to wait and see until we get more vaccines, until the kinks in the distribution system are ironed out.
Okay. Sir, I think marami tayong hindi nakikitang questions sa screen, and that this is just the start. Maraming mga questions sa backstage. It, from Laida Aquino, will it take time to vaccinate wait, mali ako ng copy paste. Ito. From Laida Aquino, again, take two. SMC, with SMC investing in battery storage, if this positive for investors with long-term outlook, reference to recommendation to shift from SMC to LTG.
Mm, as I mentioned earlier, SMC's investment in battery storage is a vote of confidence in the renewable energy sector in particular. So this is good for renewable energy companies like Asen, and then First Gen, and to a lesser extent, those smaller companies that are investing in solar and wind energy. We're hoping that um, the upcoming IPO of one of the biggest solar companies in the Philippines will push through. So that's something to look forward to. But I don't think that there's any significant link between San Miguel's decision to invest in battery storage to the broader market. It's very specific only to the renewable energy sector.
Thank you, sir. There's another one from the backstage, from Michael Uy. His question is, hi, sir, is Ali a buy at this level? And also, what is best way for us PH investors to reflect the green revolution in our portfolio? Do you see any other secular trend that we can follow?
I will say this about Ali. We prefer Ali compared to SM Prime. If you're looking at the really big caps or mega caps, I would prefer Ali over SM Prime because of valuations. Right now, with SM Prime trading above 30 times PE, I really don't see significant upside for the stock. Having said that, however, uh, I would like to reiterate that we are underweight on the property sector. Um, it's the sector's recovery will probably lag that of the overall market, simply because yun nga, there's a lot of job insecurity. OFW remittances are weak. Pogos um, don't look like they're going to come back. One of the reasons for that is that you may have heard that China is experimenting with digital yuan. So if China shifts to digital currency, then um, it will be much easier for the Chinese government to track where the Chinese spend their money. So uh, if if that comes to fruition, then Pogo operators might not have a viable business because um, the Chinese won't be able to gamble online as they have in the past few years.
Okay, sir.
I think there's a second part.
Na-recognize.
I think there's a second part in the question. Sorry, I wasn't able to
Let's
answer that.
post it again. Sorry about that. Si Siri, na-recognize na yata sir yung tanong ko. Repost natin. Where is it? Wala. Do you see, that's it, sir. Do you see other secular trend that we should follow?
Mm, at this point, it's still the same: renewable energy, electric vehicles, um, demographic change. Those are
Mhm.
the trends that we're still seeing.
Okay. So last question na, it's 3:26. Uh, sige, let's see. Let's get it from the crowd. Sir, I have a question pala. What can you say about the digital banking, yung mga rural banks turning into digital banks? Do you think they have an edge in terms of ano, uprising yung mga different types of quasi banks?
We are definitely looking at that. Digital banks definitely have some advantages. No, they have much lower costs because they don't have physical presence. They don't have physical branches. That's why they're able to offer much higher deposit rates compared to traditional banks. So there's definitely a threat there, but um, it's probably going to take a long time for these digital banks to make headway. I think there's still a lot of hesitancy for Filipinos in the first place to transact online. Um, so yun, I think it's going to be a long while before they have any significant impact on the banking sector, on traditional banks. traditional banks like BDO, BPI, and Metrobank will continue to dominate.
Okay. And the last question will be, it's connected to the bank. I think from Elden Avatar, do you see Citi moved on their business can affect fin sector and BPI eyeing on its acquisition? Thanks. Hope this will be answered.
Citibank is a big name, definitely in the US, but in the Philippines, Citibank's retail operations are relatively small. They tried to go into the savings bank industry, but uh, that failed quite a while back. So they actually have very, very few, I think only a handful of branches. So the scale of operations for Citibank's retail business is very small. And whoever buys um, the Philippine business of Citibank will probably benefit, but the benefit is not going to be significant in my view.
All right. Sir, sige, as parting words, I will call on the other analyst. But is it that investors, tinanong ko to last time sa pit stop sa kanila, might fall into, what kind of mistake they might fall into at this time of pandemic in terms of their investing, buying and selling stocks, and what should they do to avoid that?
I think what I'd like to say is related to what I said at the start. No, and this is especially applicable in my view to um, those that recently started their um, financial journey with us, or financial journey overall. And that is that the mistake could be that they become um, uh, that their outlook might be negatively affected by the drop in the market, that they might um, that they might get stung by the drop in the values of their portfolios, and that they might give up. Giving up, in my view, at this point is um, going to be a big mistake, because uh, the journey is long, um, and the journey is going to be full of potholes and pitfalls and what have you. But if you persist in your journey, you will discover that, as I said in a post, that the journey is going to be as rewarding as the destination itself. The journey is going to be as rewarding as the end goal. So I guess my parting advice is really to stick to investing, because it's the best way to secure your financial future.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I will call on the others. That's it. So I'll call on and the analysts to discuss ano ba yung mga highlights nila. What is it that stick to them? Ang daming, yung last words nga lang ni Sir, chills eh. Tsaka yung first is chills din eh. So, naririnig pa niya. Naririnig pa pala niya tayo. Anyway, so Rainier has to attend a briefing of Macro Asia, so he's not here with us anymore on stage, on screen. But yeah, ano yung mga na-pick nyo? What are the highlights na really had a significant impact for each and everyone listening to the outlook?
Sige, let me start.
Yes.
Okay. Yung pinaka-stick out sa akin is yung that the third quarter of this year will be pivotal. Kasi syempre, na naabot na nga yung previous na parang buying range na 6.4 na bumaba ngayon na 6.2. Atat na yung mga tao, I think, to try to position. But But having that parang out timeline kung kailan ba talaga best to fire your guns, so to speak. Parang yun, para meron ka ng parang time frame to look at.
Pivotal. Narinig ko lang yung sa lyrics eh. Anong song yung alimutan ko? How about you, Herman? Guys, also you can share with us ano yung, what is it that you have gotten from out of all the things that Sir Nikki has said. Merong isang nag-stand out. Share it with us in the comments below. Ayan, sige.
Okay, ang ganda nung parting words ni Sir na yung the destination will be as rewarding as the long journey. Actually, yung mga taong makakapagsabi nun is yung marami na talaga experience sa market, marami nang nakitang crisis na nagdaan ng mga nakaraang taon. So, makikita mo talaga yung experience and wisdom ni Sir. Ayun, actually, ang medyo connected kay sa sinabi ni Bess yung sa akin. So, despite all the negatives, yung rise ng COVID cases on a daily basis, nag-focus pa rin si Sir dun sa mga positives na we should look forward to. Kaya niya sinabi na the Q3 will be could be pivotal. And one of the positives that we can look forward to is yung election nga, as kasi nung when he looked at the data, when he did the back test, the market usually performs well during election season. So that's something that we could look forward to amidst all the negative news that are around us. So there.
Yes.
As for me, nakamute si IC.
Ay,
Ako ba?
game.
As for me, I enjoyed Sir Nicky's insights in the mining sector since technically it's starting to look very interesting. I like how he talked about the upside for copper as a metal. So that's what I enjoyed the most.
Nakamute ka, China.
Ayan, tinitignan ko lang kung may attentive kayo eh. Di ba? Pwede silang mag-chorus. Well, if mining sa Isaiah, then if si Herman naman and Bess are connected in terms of what Sir Nikki said, ako nag-stick sa akin what the last that Sir Nikki mentioned, the quotation, actually reminded me of a verse. If I'm not mistaken, it's Romans 8:18, that suffering at this present has nothing compared to the glory that waits in us. Kasi if you're gonna consider it, when he said na 9,000 by 2023, diba, it's worth the wait. And sabi nga nila, there are good things happen to those who wait. So I think this time, this is not the time to be impatient. Lahat naman nag-stop, lahat nag-pause, diba? And people should understand. And what he said also, na sinabi niya na do not give up. Kasi hindi naman niya sinabi na wala na yung journey eh. Sinabi naman niya, it's just a longer one. And if we happen to realize kung ano yung mga things that we need to learn at this time, I think we'll be a stronger investor or trader in the years to come. This is gonna be an added wisdom for everyone. So let's see what are the sentiments of our those who are watching right now. If you're just tuned in, this is My Trade by Abacus Securities mid-year update. If you weren't able to start the program, you can just slide back the red dot so you can start the time that Sir Nikki is discussing. Okay, from Joe Jordan. Sige nga, ikaw nga, Herman, can you read what she said? While I'm checking other comments.
Okay, from Joe Jordan. Jordan Miles, giving up is a big mistake. Thank you, Sir Nikki, for reminding. We must thrive in this pandemic. God bless. Okay, thank you for this insight, Joe Jordan. What else?
Okay, sino pa? May mga nakita kayong comments that made you interested in sharing? I think people, yan, si Gamboa, job, don't give up. Ellen Assis, stay liquid and to stay liquid and might try to position for election and post-election period. Insight, Sir Nikki, thank you. May Northern Star, may Guiding Light. Mamaya makikita nyo, merong connection yan sa sa i-announce namin. And yan, yun nga, giving up is a big mistake. So it's not the time to give up yet. Just enjoy and learn from what we have right now. Thank you so much. Any other striking lines that you want to share with us? Just feel free to share it in the comments section below. All right, so we will go to the announcements. We've mentioned yesterday that there are two major things that we're going to share with you, and I'm really happy because I know this is going to be a tool for everyone, especially at this time, that will benefit and give you a better trading and investing experience. We'll share the video now. Here it goes. Medyo naglalag yata yung video. Anyway, the first major announcement, if I may ask our backstage people to put this on banner para ma-announce to everyone. First is, we'll have our March playlist, since this is a mid-year update right after the after the update of Sir Nikki. You will have the next playlist on the 28th of April. Then that's a Wednesday. So next Wednesday we will release a new set of in relation to the adjustment of the ones that he mentioned, if merong adjustment man. For the second one is, if you notice, we'll share with you a screenshot of the revised investment summary that is actually called the navigator. So kaya nga natutuwa kami when we see guiding light, because when we were creating this revision, the name of the investment guide, it's one of the factors. It's actually para siyang beacon. So let me share with you the PowerPoint. Di yata na up eh. Wait, one moment. It's gonna be posted, available only on MyTradeMap. So that will be posted on map on a weekly basis. For those, then the next announcement is actually from doon naman exclusive sa MyTrade community. So first is, we want to share with you what it looks like. Sayang naman if hindi niyo siya makita. This is how it will look like when we post it. We will start posting it probably at the 1st of May, the first week of May. Okay, wait lang ha. Sorry. Can we have the link? Anyone who has the link? siya makita. Yung sample slide. Wait. Yan, ang hirap ng live. Naghang kasi sa akin eh. Wait For others, Herman, can you check? Can you take the floor first? While I'm checking this, the navigator, check some of the comments that we have. Do some shout outs first, and then I'll up the screen.
Wala si Herman. I don't know kung ano nangyari sa
Wala ba?
connection niya.
Okay. How about, yeah, how about you, Best? Do you see any comments? Can you share with us any sentiments that you've seen? Naliwanagan ba kayo? Do you have additional questions for those who didn't and weren't able? If we weren't able to answer the questions that you have later on, we will review the questions and we will try to get back to them. First, let's see. Yeah, the video.
There was a comment
Okay.
kanina.
Mm-hmm.
Nakita ko na-interest lang ako. It was from Eman Taal. He said, explaining how to induce hype on the stocks mentioned, but to broaden the outlook for each retail investor. And complimented Sir Nikki. Very well done daw. It's very good to hear kasi that's what we're striving to do na to temper yung emotional trading ng mga my trade users with information that balances out the hype sa market. Kung hindi ba hype yung panic, ganyan. So that parang
Yes.
that's also one of our goals sa live streams like this to give you sort of a map kung mawawala ka na kayo in your investing journey.
And the reason why we have that map is because for you guys to be able to navigate. So that's actually one of the reasons why also we will present this revised investment summary. This has been kailan na ba to? Kasi probably some of the people are not aware that there's an investment summary. Can you tell us about it, Best, na kailan to nag-start and what was it before?
Matagal na actually before pa ako pumasok na Abo kasi we used to have this report where we summarize all the target prices, all the ratios, all the EPS numbers, and the net income numbers for all the stocks in our coverage. But actually matagal na siyang tinatry i-revise kasi we're trying to change the formatting, not just aesthetics or like in presentation now. We're also trying to find the best kung ano yung information that would best serve the client. So we're still tweaking kung ano yung talagang mas nagiging useful other than just the target prices, upsides, and PE ratios now. But for the meantime, we have this navigator now, which will be, I think, very useful then for my trade users. And if I'm not mistaken, it's parang medyo customizable siya if you're looking at it online. Na you can sort it by the parameters that you like. Tama ba? Nag-thumbs up si Isaiah
Here's
kahit
the
naka-mute siya.
sample. Hindi pa natin nare-revise yung this is not the way that we presented it. However, this is gonna be what it looks like. So there's gonna be it's like that's why it's called the navigator. We have, hindi ko makita in Canva. The one that I made earlier with the name when we came up with the name, but that's how it looks like. It's gonna be a very straightforward platform that can be done using, you can be able to do it in a short term, yung mga short term plays nyo, and how you parang it's one way to filter it. So those are for the regular trading. March will still have its playlist. So this is gonna be a guide which will be available on MyTradePH. So it's sortable. We will post the details later, due to the constrict, hindi ko makita yung main how na ano na add namin for you guys, but that's how it looks like. Ayan.
Yes, so abangan.
Yan. So, all right. So I think, yan, sana, yeah. And then later on, we will have it, we'll open this and tell, and we will ask people what, or how they would like to add, if they want to add something on it. And if it's viable for us, we will try to revise and add it. Okay? So, ayan na. Yan yung surprise namin sa mga nasa map. So, if you're not member of map yet, and if you are, and you have an active account, give, just request. Unfortunately, if it's only the Marge can, since they have a separate playlist, it's not gonna be, they can apply it on their regular account. So just might as well have another account for them to play with the investment summary. Ayan. Next is the next naman na announcement, exclusive sa MyTrade community. Let's see. If you see kanina sa video, it's the chairman's corner. Hindi ko makita na naman yung slide, but this is the an hour of mentoring session with Sir Paul Su. That's gonna happen twice a month. So that's an hour of bonding and mentoring session with our chairman and president, and then it will vary kung ano yung magiging discussion niya. So this gonna be the first time that we're going to do it, and he's going to do it. We will have it on MyTrade community. So if you are not yet members of MyTrade community, go ahead and apply for it. And I'm pretty sure if you have followed how it was supposed to be answered, you'll be approved easily. Yun lang. Kailangan lang natin to follow the guidelines. Ayan, back. May I go out si Herman. So
Sorry.
that's it. So again, we will have another basic stock market seminar with Marge as a feature on April 30. So guys, watch out for the calendar and the registration of that one. We'll still have a lot to give you. So if you happen to know what kind of stream or program that you would like to learn, we will make sure that we'll try to see to it how can we present it to everyone. We know that one of our strengths are fundamentals, and not everyone has that, and as a strength we want to share that with everyone. So with that, we want to thank you for being with us today, and I hope that this is not going to be the last time. Please do share this to your friends and family members. If they're not aware of investing yet, it's a good time actually to invest when you haven't started yet. Kung meron man sa inyo na hindi pa nakakapagsimula or trying to think to start, this is the best time, sabi nga nila. Any last words from my colleagues here? Na-stopper na naman sila. Sorry, mahilig ako pang surprise. But, meron baka meron pang last na, yes, Herman, nakikita ko meron kang gusto sabihin eh.
Actually, nung nagtatalk si Sir Nikki, para kung umaattend din ng briefing, no? Kaya nagna-notes din ako. So, ang dami ko ding natutunan. So, hindi lang sa mga viewers, pero kami ding mga analysts and mga part ng marketing team, ang dami ding natutunan from Sir Nikki's talk, and also pati din yung comments ng mga viewers. Marami din kami natutunan because marami kayong angles na nakita na we might have siguro missed out, and also it's good for us to know kung ano yung pulso din ng clients namin.
Ayan,
So thank you guys for spending time with us then.
Naglolo ko yung internet natin. Nagmo-morph si Bess. You, Isaiah, any words?
Nakamute ka, IC.
Oh, unmute. Ikaw na yung nag-mute this time. Again. Ayan, okay na.
Same as last time, stick to your strategies. Just be consistent in your method. So that's it.
Okay, Beth.
Uh, I think nasabi rin lahat. I'm just very excited for the new features that we're going to be making available for our clients. So yeah, wait for that.
All right. So this is MyTradePH, and we want to thank everyone. Please stay safe, stay home if there's nothing to do outside. This is for the members of our family na older, di ba? If we can reiterate that to everyone, if okay, so I hope that next time that we will see each other, you'll have more friends and family and close ones who will be able to know about what we share here with My Trade. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, viewers and followers of MyTradePH. This is Princess Velasco. I am a singer and I just dropped by to say hi to all of you. And I hope you enjoyed today's very much needed investors update. Just a reminder, stay safe, and if you're not doing anything outside, please stay home. God bless.